Hello and welcome to our mTab video tutorial on correlation. This video will take you through the steps to set up a correlation report in mTab, and it'll assume that you're already familiar with how correlation works and the principles of correlation. If you're not familiar with correlation, we do have other resources that you can refer to that will go into a little more depth into what correlation is and how to run it in mTab. But for this video, we'll just focus on how to set up correlation in mTab. So we'll start with setting up a tab like we normally would in the same mTab interface. And you'll see I've begun by already including some questions in rows. For mTab studies, the most commonly used question types for correlation reports will be the Likert scale or ratings types of questions. So it's important to note that the question that we want to correlate to, we want to place that at the top of the list, so that'll be the first question in rows. In this example, overall opinion of item will be correlated against or correlated to these other questions here in rows. Okay, column questions are not used for a correlation report, so if you happen to already have a question in columns, you can either remove it, or if you happen to run correlation reports with a column question, it'll just be ignored. Filter questions are optional, as are layer questions. So you can use a question in layer. In this example, I've included brand, and I've subset that question to just include a handful of brands. So after including our questions, we can proceed by clicking the bottom section of the row icon. I'm sorry, the bottom section of the run icon, or the bottom part of the lightning bolt. And that expands the run options, and you'll see a run correlation option. Go ahead and click the run correlation icon. Okay, the questions that mTab runs a correlation report on need to have statistical values assigned to them. So mTab does a check before it runs the report, and if it encounters any questions that do not have statistical values or statistical weights assigned to that question, you will get a warning message here, and you'll also get the question or questions highlighted where you'll need to do an additional step to assign statistical weights. So we'll click OK, and we'll double click on the highlighted question here. And you can see here that we need to assign statistical weights because the weight field here is blank. So this is a yes-no question. So I'm going to assign a 1 and a 0 to yes and no. Okay, for this last example, I'm unable to assign any kind of statistical weight because, refused isn't really a yes or a no. So in this case, what I'll do is I'll leave the statistical weight empty, but I'll use the subset editor and only include responses with statistical weights here. Okay, I can proceed by clicking OK. And if you've assigned weights, you'll see the warning highlight will disappear, and you can proceed with your correlation report. So let's go back to the run icon and click on run correlation. mTab currently supports two types of correlation, Spearman's and Pearson's. By default, mTab will run Spearman's, but you can change the option based on the descriptions for the type of data that you would like to run. In this example, I'm going to leave the Spearman's option checked because my data is ranked in order, meaning I have scale or ratings questions included. So let's click OK to run the correlation report. Okay, my correlation report has finished running, and since a question was included in layer, that brand question, you'll see one worksheet per brand response included down here at the bottom, along with an additional report view sheet. This report view sheet includes the correlation results for overall opinion for each of the brands here. I'll just go ahead and click through the correlation report for each of the brands. And you'll see this report sheet. It takes the overall opinion of the item for each brand and includes it in the report view. Okay. Next, I'll click on this indicators icon, and you'll see the following options will be available. Hide significance values. This means that the correlation significance rows and values will be hidden for each question. Most of these values will be 0 anyway. Significant values are identified in a bold font. And along with identifying significance, you can select the confidence interval at either 95 or 99. By default, the confidence interval will be set to 95. So a value in bold font is equivalent to other programs such as SPSS assigning an asterisk to identify a 95% significance and 2 asterisks to identify 99% significance. And the last option in the indicators selection is the heat map and the degree of correlation. This option assigns colors to help categorize the strength of the correlation. So the darker the color, the stronger the correlation. And the default colors are assigned for green and red. Green being a positive correlation and red being negative correlation. These colors can be changed based on user preference. To change the colors, you can just click the change button here, go to background, and select a different color. I'm going to stick with the default green for this. So when we're ready to apply our heat map, go ahead and click OK. And you'll see now that there's degrees of color that have been applied to our correlation report. So just as a reminder, the darker the color, the stronger the correlation. And because we have green indicators here, that means it's a positive correlation. And we also have some red indicators here. That means that there's a negative correlation. So for green, it identifies a positive correlation. So that means that 2 questions such as overall opinion and styling change in the same direction. Whereas red indicates a negative correlation. So 2 questions such as overall opinion and did you have any problems change in opposite directions, meaning the fewer the problems, the higher overall opinion of the item. Now I want to take some time to mention this because this is important. The heat map colorization is not identifying significance or any other type of mathematical calculation. It's intended more as an art to categorize correlation strength. So it's a visual indicator to indicate weaker correlation and stronger correlation. And if we move over to our report view, you'll see that the indicators have also been applied to our report view. You can also click the export button once you've finished with running your correlation report, and you can click the export icon to save a fully editable file of the correlation report in XLSX format or any other spreadsheet format that mTab exports to. Correlation was a commonly requested feature from our users. We've heard from our users asking for the inclusion of correlation. We're excited that it's now included in mTab. I invite you to give correlation a try and let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.